Hi friends, and welcome to today's video. I'm Jeanette with Vival Vintage Designs. Today's video should be a lot of fun. I hope that you enjoy it and that you give it a try. Now let's get started. Hello my friends, and welcome to today's video. Today I am going to show you how to paint a very easy and beautiful transparent flower. So I'm starting out with a micron pen, and I held it at the very end of the pen so that I would have less control, and I drew a stem and 4 petals. I'm using my Liang watercolor paints, but of course use whatever you have, and you can see that I picked up a very heavy consistency of a red, and then I cleaned off my brush really well in the water, and then I moved that pigment around to create the shape of a petal. And while it was still wet, I added some orange and some yellow. And you can see that the base of that petal has a higher saturation of color, but the end of the petal is much lighter. And if you find, like in this petal here, that you have too much pigment, you can simply clean your brush off in your water, dab it on your paper towel, and lift some of that pigment. But it's nice to have a variation of very transparent petals and some that are a little bit more opaque. And one piece of advice that I can give you is to be very careful while you're painting next to a petal that is still wet. Make sure that it doesn't touch the one you painted previously, because the colors will run from the petal you painted last to the petal you're currently painting. And you can see here how I used the brush to lift some of that pigment because there was too much color in that petal and I wanted it more transparent. Also, while your petal is still wet, you can add a little bit more pigment to the center to deepen it a little. And I chose the colors yellow, orange, and red, but this would be really pretty in any color combination. And once you put your color down, don't fiddle with it too much. Just drop the color in and leave it alone. Let the watercolor work its magic. Now you can use a blow dryer to dry these petals, or you can let them dry naturally. But once they are completely dry, and it's important that they are completely dry, you can start adding your second layer of petals using the same technique that we used with the first. And now, because the previous petals are completely dry, you can go over them with your new set of petals without disturbing them. So you can see here I'm adding a heavier consistency of the red in the center just to give it a little bit more depth. This technique is so much fun that I think I could have filled a page with these flowers if I had made them smaller, which I may still try at another day. It's just fun to see how they end up and how they layer over one another. It's just such a simple but pretty technique. So once I'm finished adding my petals, I'm going to add a center to this flower. And to me, this flower looks kind of like a hibiscus. And it's nice how you can see both layers because the petals are transparent. even when they overlap one another. You can still see the one underneath it. Now at this point I thought the flower looked pretty enough to call finished, but I added a fourth petal anyway. So as I mentioned earlier, you can see that I'm just dropping the other two colors into the wet petal, and I'm not touching it, I'm leaving it alone. So now I'm going to dry this layer, and then we'll start with the center. Alright, so now that all the layers are dry, I started out with the Posca pen to draw in the center of the flower, but the nib was too broad, so I decided to go back to the micron pen that I used to paint the black petals, or rather to draw the black petals in the beginning of this painting. And you can see I'm just drawing some very sketchy, skippy little lines, and then I am adding the anthers. I'm keeping it really simple. And because the paper that I'm using is 100% cotton cold press, when you use a micron pen over it, it skips a lot. So I wanted to keep that effect when I drew in this center. And later on, after I finished the video, I decided to go over those black petals just one more time, because I think they kind of got lost with all the color going on. So I just outlined them with sketchy, skippy little lines again, just to make them stand out a little bit more. And now you can add leaves to this if you like, but I wanted to keep it very simple. I wanted the focus to be the flower itself. And here I decided to add some splatter using the colors that I used for the petals. But once I started doing it, I regretted it. I didn't like it. But I thought it was too much. At first I thought I didn't have enough, and then I thought I had too much. But you know, that's how you learn. But what I did was I softened it up a little bit, and you'll see how in just a moment. I didn't like that the dots were on the petals and that they stood out so much. So while it was still wet, I took a paper towel and I blotted some of that paint off of the flower itself. And then I came back with the micron pen, and I flicked some little lines coming from the center of those black petals just to create a little bit of depth and to make them stand out just a little bit more so that they didn't get lost behind all that color. So this is a very simple technique that gives you beautiful results. I hope that you do try it. This is perfect for the beginner, and it's a lot of fun to do. Okay, we are nearing the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Check the description box in the comment section for links to the products used, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.